Hello and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. So, I first want to start by thanking the Center for Holistic Arts and Colette and Marshall, who are the owners and the directors of the center, for hosting this event that brings people together, gives us a chance to share about ways to improve our health, to be living our lives in a long and healthy and happy, enjoyable way. So, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Susan Pigeon. I am a functional medicine health coach, and I am the owner of a Pebble in the Pond coaching. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I want to take today to honor mothers on Mother's Day. I want to look at the wisdom that we get from our mothers and how that wisdom actually can help, when we think about it, to promote our overall health and well-being. So I found this quote: "Life doesn't come with a manual, it comes with a mother." How many of you can think of those words of wisdom from your mom and look back and go, wow, I'm not sure how I would have gotten through those things without the help of my mom and the things that she taught me along the way. So I've spent some time this week actually asking some people what they learned from their mothers. So what you're going to get today is a combination of some of the things that I thought of when I thought of what I learned from my mom and what some of the people that I asked also shared with me. So I'm sure all of us can sometimes hear our mother's voice in our head and those things that she would say repeatedly to us that really just stuck. So let's take a look at some of those today. So today we're talking about listen to your mother, self-care mama's way. So one of the things that probably all of us have heard is eat your vegetables. Sometimes that wasn't the easiest thing to get kids to do, but there are so many benefits to eating vegetables and fruits, but vegetables are a little more challenging sometimes to get us to eat. So what are some of those benefits? Well, there's a lot of studies that show that by eating a good amount of fruits and vegetables, that you actually reduce the risk of heart disease and stroke. So there have been studies that showed that there was a reduced risk of death from cardiovascular disease with an average reduction of 4% for each additional serving of fruits and vegetables you ate in a day. So if you think about that, that's really pretty great. You can, if you include 5 extra servings a day, especially if you're somebody that doesn't eat a lot to start with, you could improve your risk of death from cardiovascular disease by 20% just from that. There was another study that looked at people who averaged eating 8+ servings a day of fruits and vegetables, and they found that those people were 30% less likely to have a heart attack or a stroke than those who ate less than 1.5 servings a day. And there's also research that shows that green leafy vegetables are really those vegetables that are the most strongly associated with decreased risk of cardiovascular disease. And then cruciferous vegetables, so those are your cabbage family, your broccoli, your cauliflower, your bok choy, your Asian greens, and so on. Those are also associated with reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. And also citrus fruits are also really important contributors to that. There was another study called the DASH study, or Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And that study found that people with high blood pressure who followed this diet reduced their systolic pressure, that's that top number, by about 11 points, and that their diastolic, or the bottom number, by almost 6 points. And that's as much as medications can achieve. So maybe food should be your medicine. I tend to talk about, make sure you visit your pharmacy. And I'm talking not about the drugstore. I'm talking about your local farmer's market and the produce section in your grocery store too. So also fruits and vegetables especially have something in them that's called an indigestible fiber. So it's something that our body doesn't really break down, but it provides some extra bulk in our digestive tract, in our colon. And that absorbs water and expands as it passes through the digestive system. And that actually can calm down symptoms of irritable bowel. And it can help to relieve or prevent constipation. And it can also help prevent diverticulitis, which is a very, very painful condition to have. So listen to mom and eat those vegetables. Something else you probably heard while you were at the dinner table with mom was slow down and chew your food. Well, why is that important? We were usually in a rush to get out to play or on to the next thing as kids, but it actually slows down our mind and our body, and that can help us to reduce the amount of food that we take in, because what it does is it allows some time for our body to send out the signals to let us know that we're full. So maybe we won't eat quite so much. When we eat fast, we don't have time for that signal to get to our brain. So leptin is a hormone that actually signals a sensation of being full. But it takes a while before the food is reaching that and is able to trigger that. Now, ghrelin, that's the growling one. That's the one that makes us know that we're hungry. That's another hormone. But we want to be able to have time for that leptin to signal to us so that we know it's time to stop eating. So slowing down and chewing our food carefully can be helpful with that. Also, if you slow down and you chew your food more carefully, you're actually going to absorb the nutrients that are in that food better, because your body's going to have the opportunity to get the signals that the food is coming, for the saliva in your mouth to start producing its enzymes to help break down the food before it gets down into your stomach. And it's going to allow by chewing it, you're going to break the pieces of the food down into smaller bits, which is going to make it easier for your stomach to break it down the rest of the way, and then for it to be absorbed from your small intestine out into the bloodstream. So slow down and chew your food carefully. Here's something else that might have happened at the dinner table. Saying grace before dinner. Now, that habit in a lot of families seems to have gone by the wayside, but whether you are praying a blessing over your food, or whether you're just taking that moment or two before you begin eating to be grateful and to be thankful for the food that's in front of you, and taking that pause and thinking about who grew that food, and being thankful for them, thankful for the sunshine and the rain that fed the plants as they were growing, thankful for the farm workers that took care of, tended, and harvested the food, and the truckers that brought it to the market, and to the store clerks that stocked the shelves and sold it to you, and then to be thankful for the person that prepared that food for you, whether that's eating out in a restaurant as a treat, or whether that's you or somebody in your family that's cooked. It's really important to be grateful to yourself and to show self-appreciation, because your cells are listening all the time. Also, mindful eating actually slows you down, and it allows your body to send those signals, as we talked about before, to get the enzymes, the saliva, the hormones for leptin. So again, this is a way of slowing you down and getting your body prepared to do its best job in digesting that food and getting those nutrients for you. This practice of saying grace or a blessing or practicing gratitude for your food actually decreases stress. It also increases the enjoyment of the food that you're eating and the eating experience that you're having. It helps to foster positive relationships with those that you're sharing that food with. And gratitude is actually shown to improve your physical health. Grateful people actually experience fewer aches and pains, and they report feeling healthier than other people. It increases happiness, it reduces depression, and gratitude enhances empathy and reduces aggression. So if you have a family of kids around the table and they're kind of grumpy and they're fighting with each other, by bringing them back to practicing gratitude, saying what they're grateful for that day, or within their family, or about the dinner, it helps them to recenter and focus on the positivities of things, and then it helps to reduce those other more negative things that can show up. Here's something else mom might have said. Drink more water. She might have said, put away that soda and get yourself a glass of water. Well, the soda was sweet, so our sweet tooth loved the taste of that, but it provided a lot of calories that were not really beneficial to us, and actually sugar is very, very addictive to our brains. It's really hard to break that sugar craving habit. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But by drinking more water, it does provide some real great benefits to our health. It helps to maximize our physical performance. So they have looked at what happens when we lose some of that water in our bodies, when we become a little bit dehydrated. And they've seen that losing as little as 2% of your body's water content can have a noticeable negative effect on your health. Now, athletes who tend to be sweating a lot when they're doing their activities, they often lose as much as 6 to 10% of their water weight through that sweating. And it can cause altered body temperature control, it can cause reduced motivation, and it definitely can cause increased fatigue. Now, mild dehydration, when you lose maybe 1 to 3% of the fluid in your body, that can impair your energy levels, it can impair mood, and it can lead to major reductions in memory and brain performance. Not really where you want to be. But proper hydration has been shown to boost that physical performance, and it also can help to reduce headaches. So if you have a headache, maybe one of the first things that you want to do is think about what your hydration is and grab yourself a glass or two of water and see what that does. Our cells need to be hydrated in order to perform and function to their best ability. Now, another thing that being hydrated can do is it can decrease your risk of kidney stone formation. I've had friends who've had kidney stones and they're incredibly painful. If there's something you can do to avoid it, I would strongly encourage you to do it. And so drinking water and being well hydrated can really help with that, can keep things flushing through so that they don't build up and cause blockages. And drinking plenty of water and being hydrated can actually aid in weight loss. And by having that water in your system, your cells are happy and hydrated. It can increase that satiety feeling, that feeling of being full, and it can actually boost your metabolic rate. Now, timing is important here too, in particular if this is a goal of yours. So they suggest that drinking water a half an hour before meals is the most effective way to aid in that weight loss and get that feeling of satiety when you're eating. Remember, we talked about mindfulness and gratitude as a way, and chewing your food carefully as ways to slow yourself down that allows that satiety to come in. Well, water before you eat helps to promote that feeling of satiety as we go also. And it can make you feel more full, and then you will most likely consume less. Here's something else I know my mom would say to us: turn off that TV and go play outside. Now, today, that might be turn off that TV, or turn off that video game, or get off your computer, or put down that cell phone. We have a lot of electronic devices that suck in our attention these days, whether we're kids or adults. And we kind of lose track of the world around us. And there's a lot of studies that show the detrimental effects on many, many aspects, from spending too much time with poor posture doing those things, with the lack of activity. They say sitting is the new smoking. So we know that this is really super important. I wanted to share with you this quote from naturalist John Muir that he wrote in 1901. Thousands of tired, nerve-shaken, over-civilized people are beginning to find that going to the mountains is going home. The wilderness is a necessity. That mountain parks and reservations are useful not only as fountains of timber and irrigating rivers, but as fountains of life. Now, playing in your backyard might not be like going to the mountains, or it might be, but when you're outside in nature, whether you're surrounded by a forest, mountains and lakes, or you're just surrounded by the trees and the plants in your backyard, is so very good for you. Now, there are a lot of benefits for this. So connecting with nature and being outside, one huge benefit of that is getting grounded to the earth. So we tend to build up and have actually a positive charge in our bodies. And that word positive usually seems to us like that's a great thing. But a positive charge is really not healthy for our cells. So by being in nature and connecting to the grass and the ground and the trees around us, they actually give off negative ions that help to rebalance our system and get us back into a better state. Being outside and being active outside actually can reduce inflammation, which contributes to chronic disease. Most chronic diseases are based on chronic inflammatory conditions in the body. Being outside and being active outside can help to improve sleep. It can reduce the cortisol or stress hormone levels in our body. It can relieve pain. It can promote faster healing. And it calms our sympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is our fight, flight, or freeze. That is like, we're being chased by the tiger. Although nowadays we're not chased by the tiger, but we have deadlines in traffic and kids that are, fighting and whatever it is. Those things are also causing that state of that sympathetic state, or that fight or flight. And we spend a lot of our time there without really coming back down. That's supposed to be something that is life preserving, but it's not a state that we want to stay in all the time. And hey, how about that sunshine vitamin that we get when we're outside that we don't get when we're inside? Vitamin D. Yes, we can take in food products that have vitamin D in it, but the very best way for us to get that vitamin D is to expose ourselves and our skin to the actual sunlight. Now, you do have to balance not getting sunburned, but really you should be outside at least 15 minutes a day without covering of sunscreen in order to be able to truly absorb that. Beyond that point, you can end up with some issues with burns, which can also, we know there are some effects related to skin cancer with that also. But it's really vital that you have that time out in that sunshine. So what are some of those things that the vitamin D does for our bodies? Well, one thing that's really huge is it boosts our immunity. So we know with the COVID-19 that's been, plaguing our world lately, that immunity has definitely been on everybody's mind, how to have a strong immune system. And there have been many, many, many studies that have shown that people with adequate and solid levels of vitamin D are much less likely to contract this illness. They are much more likely to have a mild case if they do get it, and they are much less likely to die. And that increases by each point that your vitamin D levels in your body goes up. There's about a 7% increase in your immunity and your resilience to this disease from that. So sunlight is so very important. And vitamin D is also necessary for calcium absorption. So in order to have strong bones and prevent osteoporosis, you really need a good, plentiful supply of vitamin D, and the sun is the best source for that. That vitamin D is very anti-inflammatory in our bodies. It is antioxidant. It's neuroprotective. It protects our nerves. It supports muscle function and brain cell activity. It can even reduce the risk of some cancers, and it reduces the risk of multiple sclerosis. It can improve skin health for people that suffer with psoriasis or eczema. It can ease depression. Boy, do you know that. I recall a long trip to Florida where all the way through the Carolinas and Georgia, all it did was rain. And when we crossed that border into Florida and the sun came out, what an incredible change it was in our spirits. I just felt light and free again. So it certainly can help ease depression. It boosts activity levels. It strengthens the muscles, the heart and lungs. It improves balance and coordination. Those things are happening from when you're being back out in nature. Moving and being active outside increases those activity levels, strengthens the muscles, the heart, and the lungs. It improves balance and coordination when you're walking on those uneven surfaces and climbing and so on. It really helps with those things. It can reduce stress. It helps to rebalance our circadian rhythms. So those are the rhythms of our sleep and wake cycle, which often get thrown off by things like looking at screens with the blue lights that's emitted from them, especially late at night when our body should be getting the signal that it's dark and it's time to sleep, and we're staring at those screens and our brain is getting the signal, oh, it's daytime, wake up. So being outside in nature and in the sunlight can help to rebalance that. They actually suggest that when you, as soon as you arise in the morning, try to get out and expose yourself to that direct sunlight for 10 or 15 minutes to help get your body knowing that now it's daytime and now it's time to raise the levels of cortisol so that I am ready to do what I need to do during the day. And that's going to help on the other end, help to increase the levels of melatonin at bedtime so that you're more ready with that sleep hormone. And being outside can really help with your mood. It can reduce anxiety and depression. And play is fun. So stop taking yourself so seriously. Get outside and play. Listen to that advice that Mom had for you. And you probably heard this along the way too. Go to bed. Or on the other end, come on, let's get up. It's daytime. Let's get out of bed. So having a good sleep cycle is really important. Getting an adequate amount of sleep, having not disordered sleep is so beneficial for our overall health. It reduces stress and inflammation. It can help improve our memory. It supports weight loss. It aids in growth and repair within our bodies. It helps us have better concentration and be more productive. It reduces the risk of heart disease and stroke. And it's really important to practice good sleep hygiene. I mentioned the issue with the bright lights at night. Really, if you can get off of your devices for an hour before bedtime and have a quieter, more sleep-like routine where maybe you practice some yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong, or you sit quietly and read a book, take a relaxing hot bath, those things can really help with getting to sleep. And then on the other end, as I said, exposing yourself to that sunlight as early as possible in the morning can be really helpful. Try not to eat too close to bedtime and so on. You probably were told, clean your room. Well, you probably have experienced this for yourself. When you're living in a state of things being cluttered and in disarray around you, it can really affect your mood, right? It can keep you from being able to concentrate. And when things are cleaned and in order, it reduces stress and it promotes clearer thinking. I had a friend that shared with me that her mother would say, go to the sea and breathe deeply, for the salt air is healing. And that is such a wonderful place. We all know how we feel so much better when we're at the ocean or by a lake. And that deep breathing is really important. So I'm going to break that down and let's look at both parts. So what are the benefits of deep breathing? They are many. It reduces stress. It lowers your heart rate and your blood pressure. It relieves emotional stress and anxiety. And it actually helps support pain relief. There was a study that showed that 73% of the subjects in the study found that deep breathing was helpful in their pain management following coronary artery bypass graft surgery. And deep breathing can help manage symptoms of chronic pain as well. It improves symptoms of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So there was a study that showed that yogic deep breathing helped to with the symptoms of OCD and stress, and it reduced them. There was also a significant reduction in the medication use for those people that were practicing this yogic deep breathing. I would much rather be breathing deeply than taking medications. So deep breathing can also help improve irritable bowel syndrome. And there was a deep breathing technique along with a set of 12 yoga or poses or asanas that was taught to a group of people that had diarrhea, predominant IBS. And the control group in this experiment was just given a standard IBS drug. And it was the yogic group that had both less IBS symptoms and less anxiety. So again, deep breathing for the win there. It can help with dealing with PTSD. So deep breathing along with yoga and mindfulness meditation was found to be effective in reducing symptoms such as sleep disturbance and irritability and anger problems with focus. It also is helpful for people with diabetes. Deep diaphragmatic breathing from your diaphragm down here is shown to be effective in reducing the oxidative stress that diabetics experience, which is which can result in a lot of the tissue damage that diabetics often deal with. It's good for relieving GERD. So there was a 4-week breathing training program, and that was shown to significantly improve the quality of life measures for people with GERD and decrease their use of proton pump inhibitors, those PPI medications that they take. And deep breathing also reduces inflammation in the body. There was a study in 2016 that after 20 minutes of breathing exercises, they measured the saliva that was tested in 5-minute intervals, and they found that this deep breathing created significant changes in the salivary cytokines, which are biomarkers of inflammation. That word cytokine and cytokine storm has come into our hearing because of reactions that some people are having to the COVID-19 infection. And then if we look at the being by the ocean, so many benefits there. It relieves stress, it helps to promote good sleep, it supports lung health because actually the salt in the air creates a thinner mucus. And if you have a stuffy nose, you probably have used some of those saline sprays that are out there for that same reason, to thin the mucus membrane and to get that to flow again. And being by the ocean has been shown to improve lung function and reduce coughing. It decreases sinus pressure. The ocean air and the salt in the ocean is also really beneficial to the skin. Because it contains a lot of different vitamins and minerals in it. Salt water may help to heal wounds at an even faster pace. And it can reduce swelling and redness associated with acne blemishes. It helps those suffering from eczema breakouts, and that they may get relief by using salt water on the skin. And again, we talked about those negative ions with the earth. Well, it's also in the sea air. So it accelerates your ability to absorb oxygen and balance your serotonin levels. That's your feel-good hormone, and a body chemical that is linked to mood and stress. So mother is a verb, not a noun. Mothers are some of the busiest people I know. Great moms are all about relationships. They teach us, treat others the way you want to be treated. We learn how things affect us. We learn that how things affect us is very much how they affect others, right? They teach us compassion and empathy. You have choices, somebody said their mom always said to them. They help us to see the consequences of our choices, both good and bad. Somebody else said her mom was always saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. How many times have you been experiencing where you were told, say you're sorry, and you say sorry with a really nasty tone to it? And we know that sorry doesn't really seem to be so in those cases. And so mothers help us to learn the importance of our body language, the tone of voice that we're using when we convey a message, that they should match. And actually, we speak way more through body language than we actually do through verbal communication. So our actions speak louder than words, as they say. And mothers are always speaking through their actions and leading by examples. Many people said to me, they didn't remember a specific thing that their mom said, but they remembered the way that she showed love and was nurturing. They remembered the life lessons that she taught, the example of how to be and live in the world. Our mothers will stay with us throughout our lives in thought and memory. Some teach patience, some teach how to stand up for yourself, some teach independence, some teach forgiveness. They teach the importance of family, and mothers teach the power of giving of oneself for the good of another. So I wanted to wrap up this bit about mothers with a quote from Lady Gaga. Acceptance, tolerance, bravery, compassion. These are the things that my mom taught me. Now, I wanted to take a minute before we finish up and remind you that we have another mother. We have Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and she's also teaching us valuable lessons about life. And in my group, Ripples of Health on Facebook, I've been looking at some things about the earth and how the earth is our mother and how it provides us with growth and health and healing. So here are just a few quick lessons that we get from Mother Nature. There's a time and a season for everything. Learn to go with the flow. We see the water in the river and the trees in the wind. They don't resist, they just go with the flow. And when we're placed in the right environment, we can thrive. Mother Nature teaches us to adapt to our situation, to not be in such a hurry that it's okay to be still. It reminds us to stay rooted, and that change is really the only constant. We see examples in nature that working together with the world around you is really important. There are so many relationships in nature that are symbiotic, where one provides something that the other one needs, and the other one provides back for that one something that they need. And that we should care for those that are less fortunate than you. I love seeing and hearing stories about a mother animal that maybe finds another orphaned animal of a different species and basically adopts it and raises it as her own. Follow the sun. We know the plants do that. And we, as I said, the sun is so important to us. Share the bounty of your gifts. Nature is so abundant and so willing to share the gifts that she has for us. And life is filled with beauty. So go out and celebrate it. So I want to just thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day to all the mothers that are out there. And again, my name is Susan Pigeon, and if you are ready to make some changes in your life and you really want somebody to walk beside you along the way and help you to navigate that path to success and better health, I'm here and I would love to reach out for you. So you can find me on Facebook, and you can check out my website, apebbleinthepondcoaching.com. So enjoy. We'll talk to you again soon.